Hey guys, so it has come to my attention that a lot of the reference material websites that we use to work on these Saturns is kind of getting lost. The Saturn wiki has been gone for many years now, and it had a swap guide in it that let you know what parts you could take from what years of S series and swap them interchangeably between all the years of cars, because some things did change throughout the run. Not everything is directly swappable between all S series from 91 to 02, but that swap guide has since disappeared. Once it was off the wiki, it ended up on Six Spheres forum, but I've recently looked there and I can't see it. I had it bookmarked and it comes up as a dead end now. We've also lost differentracing.com. There was a lot of reverse engineering on there, like how the ignition system works, what that module actually does, and how the triggering system works for the computer. And I don't remember a lot of it, so some of that's lost too. But I decided that I have enough parts that I'm going to try to do a video swap guide. I'm going to try to remember everything from that swap guide and do it in a video and show the differences between everything to the best of my ability, because I can't find it anymore either, and a lot of it is going to be from memory and experience. So we'll start with the engine blocks and we'll work our way up through the engine and through the transmissions, and then that's where I'm going to stop. Unfortunately, anything to do with the interiors or beyond ECUs and stuff, that'll deal with the engines. I don't know, because I never did any of it, but there was a ton of information of what guys were doing to these cars back in the day, and some of it was pretty cool. And unfortunately, now that information is now kind of lost forever. A lot of the websites have just run out and nobody's renewed them, and they're gone. Alright, so here's the engine blocks. There is basically one engine block from 91 to 02, SOHC, DOHC, same engine block. They're interchangeable in any year of car or anything. Everything is basically the same about them, except the 99 to 02 are supposedly a slightly thicker casting in places, but I've never busted out the measuring equipment to find where those places are. So I don't know what they did there, but supposedly the 99 to 02 is slightly stronger. Alright, so Saturn did two different crankshafts. This is the 91 to 99 crankshaft for SOHC and DOHC. It has 4 counterweights and the reluctor ring. In 99, they decided to beef it up a bit. So for the 99 to 02 SOHC and DOHC cars, they are 8 counterweight. There's 2 here, 2 here. So there's added material. They're better balanced, they're stronger, and apparently they're supposedly smoother running, which of course they would be if they're better balanced. If you're doing performance stuff, this is the one you want to aim for, and it can be found in any 99 to 02 S-Series car, SOHC, DOHC. They used it for both. They are completely interchangeable. The mains and the rods are the same journal size. Okay, so this is the 91 through 99 connecting rod, or first and second gen rod, and it is a regular machined cap held on with studs and nuts, and is from 91 to 99. This is the 99 and up one. Now the center to center is 60 thou longer on this rod than the first gen rod, and instead of being the machined one, it is a cracked cap design where they snap the cap off, so you cannot resurface and resize these. They are not interchangeable because this one is 60 thou longer. However, what they did to keep the compression height the same is they just moved the wrist pin in the piston down 60 thou, so the compression height's the same. So you can't really mix them up. If you do, you will change something. So third gen piston on third gen rod, first design piston on first design rod. If you switch them, you will either go down in compression by a lot, or if you switch them the other way, you will slam the piston into the head, because it will come through the head gasket and probably touch the head, because it'll come up 60 thou higher. So know that when looking at pistons and rods. So the rods, not so interchangeable. The rods have to match the same year of piston. Okay, so pistons. 91 through 99 SOHC have this dish. This is a first gen DOHC. It's basically flat top with what appear to be two valve reliefs. And the third gen is basically the same deal. The difference between the first gen ones and the second gen ones, aside from the wrist pin mentioned in the rod section right before this, is the thickness of the top ringland. It is thicker on the first and second gen pistons, and it is thinner on the third gen pistons. Much reason why that happens, right? You're much more likely to blow out a top ringland. They're much more susceptible to detonation using a third gen piston. That ringland is just not as strong as this one. Same compression height at the end of building your engine, despite, you know, it's all matched. So they used these in SOHC and DOHC, whereas in the first, you know, 91 to 99, they used this in the SOHC and this in the DOHC. But nothing changed engine build wise when they did this, so that tells me that you can probably run these under an SOHC, and you can probably run these under a DOHC. The reliefs and everything are for compression ratio. They're not actually valve reliefs. It doesn't matter if they're on the exhaust side or the intake side. They're supposed to be on the intake side, but they are there for compression. You will not hit the valves. Their location doesn't matter. Okay, so now we're going to go on to the windage trays and tie plates. Now, I don't seem to have a windage tray lying around. I don't know why. But this is the tie plate. It is only found in the 99 through 2002 DOHC engine. It is not found in the SOHC engine. And it is not found in any 91 through 99. This was a third gen only thing. And the windage tray that they put in the 91 through 99 SOHC and DOHC cars is basically the same thing. It's just a little shorter, and it doesn't have the holes in the middle to match up and tie the mains out to the block. That's literally the only difference. And it seems like the third gen SOHC cars didn't come with a windage tray at all. You just pull the oil pan off and it's main cap staring you in the face. Okay, so they did do two different oil pans as well. And the only way you can really tell them apart, and the only difference is this one is kind of more rounded along here, and this one's a lot more up and squared. And the reason for that is this is the 99 to 02 DOHC one, and it had to clear the tie plate. This wasn't enough to clear the tie plate, but it is enough to clear the windage tray. So if you're putting a tie plate in a car or in a motor, you need this oil pan to match. This one will not clear it. That's the only difference. Okay, so we're on to cylinder heads, and we'll start with the SOHC cylinder heads. There was really only two changes, and they're very, very minor. So these are actually fairly swappable between whatever year you need. So the first gen one, this one, 91 to 94, the only thing is it has a temperature sensor hole there and one there. This one's for the computer, a 2-wire sensor, or a 2-wire plug, and this one runs the gauge in the dash. That's it. So if you need to use this on a car where you only have the one hole, because it's a second gen car, then you just plug that hole and you're good to go. Slap it on. No worries. So on to the second gen head. The only difference between that one and that one, like I said, no hole there. Just one. They decided to get the gauge and the computer to get the information from the same location. So that's literally the only difference. So if you need to use this on a previous gen car to replace one of these ones, you can just pop a hole in there and put in a sensor for your gauge. And then on to the third gen one. So the only difference here is the sensor stays the same. What they did do was they added the exhaust ports are smaller. So this is the second gen and first gen exhaust port size. These ones are significantly smaller, and they've got this little hole down here for the secondary air recirculation system thingy that they got on these cars. And that's literally the only difference in the casting. The valves, the springs, the cam, it's all the same from 91 to 02. So easy to rebuild. No worries there. Rockers, same. Everything's the same. except those 3 changes in the SOHC. DOHC is a little more complicated. Okay, so the dual overhead cam cylinder head. This is a 91 to 95. I don't have a 95 to 09 or a 95 to 99. They're all on my cars. And this is the 99 to 02. This is the 3rd gen, and this is a 1st gen. There's not a lot of changes between the 1st gen and the 2nd gen, but this thing is completely different. So I'll go over everything. So a lot like the other car, or the SOHC heads, it has 2 temperature sensors for 91 to 95. And it runs, and unlike the SOHC, the flange for the EGR valve is part of the head casting, not part of the intake manifold like the SOHC cars. So this is a vacuum style EGR with 2 temperature sensor ports, meaning it is a 91 to 94 or 95-ish, halfway through. So other than that, they are identical. They are a hydraulic bucket lifter design with the cam sitting on top. 4 valves per cylinder. Everything else is the same. In the 2nd generation, they went from 2 temperature sensors to 1, just like the SOHC cars, and they switched from a vacuum style EGR to this style EGR. This is the electronic one. So keep that in mind when switching between the 1st and 2nd gen heads. If you're a 1st gen car, you won't have the provisions in your wiring harness or with your computer to have this on there. You'd have to make a adapter flange probably and run the vacuum one. So other than that, that's really the only difference, is they changed the flange for the EGR and that in 96 to 99. Everything inside is all the same valves, springs, lifters, cams, everything's the same. This thing is completely different. This is the 99 to 02, and the first thing they did is they changed the intake is basically the same, but the exhaust is a completely different bolt pattern. It's 9 bolt instead of 5, so you can't use 1st and 2nd gen exhaust manifolds on this head. It also has the ports up top here. That is for that secondary air system, just like the 3rd gen SOHC cars. So there's that. Then instead of it being a hydraulic bucket lifter, it's got the hydraulic lifters and roller rockers over to the valve under the cams. You can see the casting is completely different. It's narrower. It's the same length, which means the timing cover for a 3rd gen will not work with a timing cover for here. And also all of the timing stuff is completely different on this end too. I believe the sprockets are the same, but the chain is a different length. And even if we look at the timing side of these engines, you've got the plug here for that and everything on the 1st gen, and then this one is completely different. So these are not interchangeable. And generally the rule is with the DOHC heads is you have to run the same corresponding year of computer and wiring harness to match your head. And that's to account for the EGR valve change. The early cars won't have it in the computer. The later cars will want to see the electronic EGR. And then this is completely different. Now, these all bolt onto the same engine, like onto the same block. So you can take a 2002 and get rid of this and put on an older one if you want, and you can just swap the computers. And the harnesses, because I believe the pinouts are different, switching from 99 to 2000 or whatever. Also, in here, the guts are completely different. These are different springs. They are different retainers, keepers. The valves are shorter and are a 6mm stem The older ones are a 7mm stem. So even inside, none of the internals are the same or are swappable between the first and second gen DOHC heads and this third gen head. It is 100% completely different and unique to those 99 to 02 twin cam cars. Okay, camshafts. All SOHC camshafts from 91 to 02, I believe, are the same. They're all a roller setup, and since the heads never really changed that much, the cams are pretty much the same as far as I know. DOHC 91 through 99 camshafts are all the same for this head, and these are different camshafts for the 99 to 2002. Alright, so onto the intake manifold. So 91 through 94 SOHC used a single injector and a throttle body design, and this is the manifold that goes on those first generation SOHC cars. Then in 95 they switched to multi-port injection on the SOHC, and this is the manifold they used right from 94 to, I believe, 02. Nothing really changed. It's the same injectors, rail, everything all bolts up, and the pattern is the same. They both have the same pattern. They'll both bolt onto any head, so you don't have to change your intake manifold to match your head. You just have to make sure your intake manifold matches your car, because this one has the vacuum EGR, and these ones are set up with electronic EGR. So the computer is going to want electronic EGR on the second gen cars. So as long as your manifold matches the car, you can swap whatever head into it. It's basically true for the exhaust manifolds too, especially with the third gen with that secondary air intake system. Alright, so we'll move on to the DOHC intake manifolds. Now, the DOHC cars were MPFI right from 91 all the way through the run. So, but they did change the manifold and a couple of things a couple of times. So first they started off with this aluminum fuel rail and short stubby injectors, and the first generation ones will say twin cam 16 valve. Then they switched to a plastic rail like this one, and the locators, or the bolt holes for them, changed location and shape, so you can't put the aluminum rail on the newer manifolds, and they no longer say twin cam 16 valve. And they pretty much did this right up to 1999, and then the third gen cars, which the only one I have is on my third gen car, is a completely redesigned plastic unit. It's made of a black plastic, so it's completely different. And I'm not sure if its bolt pattern is the same, but these ones totally are. Like, they're the same flanges, but they are a little different with the fuel rail. So that's where swapping these things willy-nilly kind of gets a bit confusing, is which fuel rail you have to use and what you can plug into your car. Alright, on to the exhaust manifolds. These are for the SOHC cars. This is 91 through 99. This is 99 to 02. This one has the tracks in it for, that's how the part of the secondary air system works, to match those holes in the head. And the first run of cars from 91 to 99 didn't have that. It's just a straight up manifold with an O2 sensor in it. Nothing special. However, this one has the built-in catalytic converter, or the first cat before it runs to the second cat in those cars. So a little more on the emissions for the 99 to 02 manifolds. Other than that, I believe they bolt in and they have the same bolt pattern. All that is also true for the exhaust manifold for the DOHC cars. The 91 and 92 actually had an exhaust header from the factory, tubed header, and then 93 to 99 had a cast one like this, but has the bolt pattern and the port shape to match the DOHC cars. And then with the secondary air system coming in, the DOHC manifold is similar to this with a track in it that matches up with the holes in the head for the secondary air system, but it's the same rules. Oh, the manifold bolt pattern on the DOHC car does change from 99 to 02. The original ones are 5-bolt from 91 to 99, and then 99 to 02 are a 9-bolt. Okay, all SOHC timing covers from 91 to 2002 are the same and are completely interchangeable. Nothing changes, bolt pattern's the same, location of the idler pulley's the same, stud location's the same. Dual overhead cam timing covers are the same from 91 to 99, and from 99 to 02 they are narrower to account for the redesigned cylinder head. Okay, so we got some clutches here. There was 2 different clutches for the 5-speed standard cars. So the 91 to 96 is just a plain old regular clutch with a pressure plate, and 99 to 2002 has this self-adjusting clutch plate and pressure, or clutch and pressure plate here. And you can kind of see how they look different. This one has this thingy in the middle of it below all the springs, and then this one doesn't have that. It's much more simple, right? So, all right, so EGR valves, they used 2 different styles. There was the vacuum and the electronic. The vacuum was from 91 to 95-ish. Somewhere in 95 they started switching them over, and this is what it looks like. And this is used on the SOHCs and DOHCs. It's the same one. Then in 95, they switched to the electric one. They look like this, and they used these on the SOHCs and DOHCs all the way to 2002. Alright, so this is the ignition control module. They did 2 different styles of these, but I seem to only have one lying around. This is the 91 to 95. It will have 2 plugs on the bottom, and it will sit against the transmission like that. And in 95, halfway through 96, it flipped this way. The plug, well, it stayed the same. They moved the plug up to the top, and it went from being 2 plugs to being a single plug. This is a 2-plug, 6-pin here, 5-pin here for a total of 11. And they go down to a single plug with 5-pin pinout on a single fat plug up at the top. The coil packs, they are the same from 91 to 02, SOHC and DOHC. Also, yeah, these are also the same, SOHC, DOHC, doesn't matter. Okay, so we will look at the transmissions next. Now, they were basically either a manual or an automatic from 91 to 02, and they are basically all the same. They will all bolt on to any engine. It doesn't matter year or SC1, SL. It doesn't matter. They're all the same. The gear ratios changed. I have that information. I'll put it up at the end of the segment. So what you had was the MP2 transmission, which is the 5-speed manual that came on the SOHC cars. You had the MP3, which is the 5-speed standard transmission that came on the twin cam cars. You had the MP6, which is the automatic for the SOHC, and the MP7, which is the automatic for the DOHC. So there are 4 transmissions. The cases were all the same. So the difference between a lot of those is just gear ratio. If you need to know how to identify them, if you're looking for a specific gear ratio, there's a number stamped in the bell housing. It says 5 MP3. Well, this means that this is a MP3 transmission for a DOHC from 1995. So if it's a 1, it'd be 91. If it's a 0, it's 2000. And then I can't remember what they did for 2001 and 2002 up front. I can't remember if it's an A or a B or what they did. Alright, so engine cradles and radiators. 91 to 93 have a slightly different engine cradle, and this part sits up higher, so this mount sits up higher. So you can't put 94 to 02 radiator into a 91 to 93 car because the mount for the radiator is in a different location and it just won't fit right. It'll either sit way too high or it'll sit way too low. So the engine cradle is different, and where it changed is this bar is kind of round on most of the cars, because this is a later one. This is from 94 and up. It's a lot more of a chunk of square tubing on the first generation, and it's kind of designed a little different up front here. So other than that, that's one of the only other changes that they made in like 93. Okay, so that'll about do it for this video. I hope this information helps some of you that are a little less familiar with this platform. Keep your cars on the road and running good. I'm sure there was some things in the Saturn Wiki swap guide that I missed. I'm sure there's some things that I covered that weren't in there, if I remember correctly. It's been a long time since I've ever seen that page, so hopefully we got it all. And I hope it helps you guys. The other thing is, at the beginning of the video, I said that the differentracing.com site was gone, and that's still technically true, but I did find it on the Wayback Machine. It's a web crawling scanner that archives the internet and has since like 2000. And since this site was started in 2002 and ran till, I think, only a few years ago, it finally disappeared. I did find it all up there. It's not 100% complete, but it's close, and I will link that down below. So until next time, we'll see you later.